Welcome back, everybody. A little bit of change of pace. I recently acquired this gem of a washer. It's a 1978 Kenmore 70 series washer. It came in off the scrap heap. It is one of the nicer condition ones that I've seen, and I decided to do a little bit of a refurbishment with it with my friend Bob. So this washer kind of worked when I got it. The motor was obviously bad, and it did have a small leak. It got stuck full of water overnight, and by the next morning, I had a small puddle of water underneath the machine. Nothing serious, but it wasn't a leak nonetheless. So I called my friend Bob over, and he came and was nice enough to help me put a new, well, not new motor, but a good used motor in and put a fresh belt on it. And we also changed a pump while we were there because that's kind of a common failure with this machine. So the first thing to do is basically get the agitator off. That's the first step. So we removed the agitator screw from the top, and I have a little bit of a trick that I use to remove stuck-on agitators. It's this product called Windbag, and they're basically these bladders or what have you that you can pump them up full of air, and it creates a lot of positive pressure and basically makes the agitator pop out. Now, I tried to do this by hand and I could not. Now, granted, my shoulder kind of hurts, so I don't really have the amount of force that I used to have back in my 20s, but it was definitely stuck on there, and I was able to get it out with almost no effort with those windbags. I'll leave a link in the description for those. If any of you are into redoing your old washing machines, these windbags are a must-have, and they're pretty inexpensive. So the next step is to take your spanner wrench and remove the tub nut that holds the inner spin basket in place. Now, I didn't have much trouble getting that off, but I did spray a little WD-40 down there just to help kind of loosen things up when I was removing the spin basket. After that, we removed the fill hose and the snubber pad, and then we removed the top ring. At that point, removing this tub was actually surprisingly simple. It kind of broke free without too much trouble, and we pulled it out and set it aside. Now, sorry for the low light on this one. I don't know, my light wasn't set up properly, but this washer was pretty grimy underneath. It does have a porcelain on steel outer basket, so it could have been a lot worse, but after so many years, you can't really expect it to stay pristine clean. So we were basically messing around and playing in the muck and just kind of checking things out. We were trying to decide whether we wanted to remove the outer basket, and ultimately I decided that we should because I wanted to take it out and clean it really thoroughly. And I also wanted to address that small leak that I found in the, overnight on the washer. I had to figure out where that was coming from. I scrubbed the inside of the tub a little bit just to clean it up, and then I decided that, we should in fact take the outer tub out. So we tapped out the drive block, which was pretty uneventful. We just kind of hit it with my handheld 5-pound sledge and realized that it was not in good condition anyway, so we decided to replace that while we were there. We removed the 4 supporting bolts that bolt the outer basket to the table, I guess it's called, and we disconnected the filter hose and just kind of wiggled it out, and boom, there you have it. So we got it down to the table, and that's when I started cleaning things up a little bit. I took a wire wheel to that spin tube assembly. Now, originally we thought we were going to change the spin tube assembly, but Bob said it was in really good shape, so we decided to leave it in place and not get that deep with this machine. I cleaned up, that's the drain port, the drain hole, and that had a lot of rust and corrosion on it. So I cleaned that up really well and got it all straightened out. This is me cleaning the outer tub and installing the donut, I guess it's called, which is basically the tub seal. The product that I use to seal it in is 3M 800. It's like a red sealant. It's like the perfect stuff for washing machines. If you ever replace a seal on your machine, that's the stuff to use. It's really good. It takes a while to dry, but it's definitely long-lasting and good stuff. So I found a pinhole right around the donut, so I decided to kind of overshoot my sealant and hopefully seal up everything. And I did it inside and out pretty thoroughly, actually. I thought I did a pretty good job on that. This is my first time doing a tub seal on an old machine like this. I was really glad that Bob was here to help me out. So after we got all that situated, I decided to give it one more go on the drain pump and get it cleaned up. And then I applied the red sealant to the face of that seal because I just didn't want to chance any leaks. So I got all that straightened out and we continued. After that was all set, we were ready to drop in the outer tub again. Now be careful, it's a little tricky. It doesn't just quite fit right in there. You kind of have to wiggle it and you have to get the filter past it. And watch out for that air dome because you could knock that off pretty easily. Now when setting this tub in, it's kind of important to not push down on the tub so much as it is to push on the seal to help guide it in. You can put a little Vaseline on the spin tube and that will help the tub slide down without too much difficulty. After that, I put a little bit more red sealant on the outside of the drain hole, and then I took my mounting bolts and I put even more red sealant around those bolts and tightened them down. It's important not to over tighten those mounting bolts because the rubber gasket will actually start to mushroom if you put too much force down in it. We put a hair dryer in there to help seal up things, or help dry up things rather, and let it sit for about 45 minutes, let everything get nice and warm in there. I then got to cleaning the inner spin basket, which was actually pretty gross too. So after I got that cleaned, I decided to do a little rust prevention touch-up around the ring of the tub. Now these are kind of prone to rust right there, so a little touch-up paint goes a long way. We got the spin basket set in, which required a little bit of force, and then we got the tub nut wrench thingy in and tightened it down nice and snug. Now when your bolt or nut rather is good, it should be just below the surface of the what's it called? Oh, I forgot the name of that part. Drive block. There it is. Then you could reattach the agitator and you're kind of done with that major part of the machine. Putting this rubber seal around the outer tub was a little bit difficult. You kind of have to stretch it on and it does want to come undone pretty easily. Finally, we got that massaged into place and we applied the top cover on and began cleaning. This washer is actually pretty special because I don't know if you noticed, but it does have the Pentaswirl agitator, which is a pretty uncommon agitator. They didn't make it for very long. And the idea behind it was to give this washer a little bit of a gentler wash. Next up, we finished with the top end of the machine and we decided to get the motor changed and put a new belt on. So we got the old motor off and transferred the brackets to, ironically, an even older motor, which Bob swore up and down was the best motor ever built. And I tend to believe him. He's been working on these things since they were pretty much brand new. Well, not exactly, but pretty much. So we got the transmission slid out a little bit and slipped the new belt through. at which point we were ready to tighten down the transmission and reattach all of the support bars in place. After we did all that, we put a new pump in and pretty much got everything buttoned up and got ready to test this machine again. So this was kind of a long process. I mean, this whole job took us almost 4 hours. So I really definitely tip my hat to the service people of yesterday. This is not something that I would be willing to do 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. I mean, new appliances are so much easier to work on than this machine. I mean, this was definitely a challenge. So finally we got this thing buttoned up. I didn't video Bob putting the belt back on, but he got it on with no problem. He wanted me to show this part specifically. This is called oiling the clutch, and he said it was really important and it helped make for a very quiet machine. All finished product and ready to go. This washer really turned out fantastic. Pay attention to this photo over here where it has the towel on the floor. Unfortunately, after putting it all together and testing it, the machine ran perfectly, but ended up having a larger leak than what we actually started off with. As it turns out, when I was installing the outer tub, I bumped the air dome assembly and basically broke the seal on it, and it started leaking. So I'm gonna have to take it all apart again and reseal that air dome, which I should have sealed to begin with, but I just didn't think to do so. Anyways, as soon as I get that all finished up, we're gonna do a couple of wash videos. Bob was kind enough to bring a Surgulator agitator for this washer. So I'm going to do a couple of wash performance tests on this machine. I know you guys have kind of responded well to my Ketchup Test, so I'm going to do a Ketchup Test on this machine actually a couple of times. I'm going to try it with both agitators, and if I can find a dual action one, I'll try it with that too. Thanks for watching, everybody, and definitely look out for the next video. I should be doing the wash videos of this vintage Kenmore machine pretty soon, hopefully in the next couple of days or so.